Good day, day 3. The Royals are coming for tea in South Africa. What are you doing there? So I'm going to give you a number, simple number, 1,440 minutes. That's how many minutes there are in a day. 480 women were raped in South Africa today. That's minimum. And the Royals said nothing today. They went to see Desmond Tutu while he giggled like a little girl. And they showed off their baby. While the Royals went for tea. So, in the 3 days they've been there, 174 people were murdered. Nothing was said. Hold on a second, I want to get something in for you. So, in that time, all this crime is going on, nobody says anything. I'm very sure that during this last weekend, people knew about a young couple on the Wild Coast in a holiday resort, woke up with 2 gentlemen standing next to their bed. And while they were standing there, they were stabbing this pregnant woman in her bed. And they were stabbing the husband, a rather big fella. And he managed to get up and fight them. And he fought them. And he fought the big guy down the stairs while the little guy was on his back, stabbing him in his back. And they ran away. And all the staff was called together quickly and put in front of the place and told, oh, it was a domestic fight. And he killed his wife. But he had stab wounds in the back and front. While the pregnant lady lay there in her bed, stabbed to death, so was the baby dead. And nobody said anything. And this happens every single day in South Africa. Suddenly, Malema has jumped up now. Mr. Julius Malema, the so-called leader of the EFF, screaming about colonialists and about the oppressors from 25 years ago. And the same Desmond Tutu who did the Truth Commission, who said nothing today. But in 2006, he was on public record stating that the ANC would be removed by the international communities for the corruption and parasitical corruption and disgust that he had seen. And yet today, giggling like a little girl, he, with his high-pitched voice, he never once talked about the crime that's going on in the flats, in the Cape Flats. He didn't talk about the rapes, the murders, the corruption, nothing, just the giggling like a little girl. And I know what's going on here. The Royals are going to go back to their La La Land in England and Europe and wherever they're going to go and say there's nothing going on in South Africa. Nothing. It's all la la good. I was born in KwaZulu-Natal. I was born in South Africa. I came to the United States in 1996. Some people have said some bad things about me. I'll take the high ground. I spent 4 years in the military in South Africa. Between 1980 and 84. I spent another 10 years, more than 10 years, in the townships of Umlazi, KwaMashu, Umnanda, Ananda, Adams Mission, Kasunduzwayo, Tabankulu, Mbogantwini, everywhere. Building power lines as an electrician in those townships where people didn't have power. And I saw the squalor and the terrible conditions they lived in. And I saw where they had huts, they were way down in the mountains. No power, no roads, no nothing. And the old ladies would have to carry 5-gallon drums of water on their heads, with the little 5-year-old carrying one as well up the mountain to go to their hut. And dragging and pulling and digging and getting it down there, we got them power. We got them electricity. Well, they call it gas. We call it gas. We gave them. It didn't matter if they were in a packing box. We put power in the house. I won a green card. I came to the United States. On September 11th, I was on a runway on Logan Airport, putting in lights on the runway lights when 9/11 happened. Never thinking I'd spend 10 years in the Middle East. I went to Iraq in 2004. I landed in Baghdad. Couldn't remember the Lord's Prayer till I hit the floor. Believe me, I know. We circled Baghdad sideways so they wouldn't be able to hit us with the SAM missile. People screaming, luggage all over us. We landed, there were mortaring the runway. That was my introduction to Iraq, 2004, March 2004. I went to Rustamaya, Rocket Rustamaya. They called it Muleskin at first, then Cuervo. Then they called it Rustamaya, which was his original name. And they didn't call it Rocket Rustamaya for nothing. We were hit from 6 in the morning to 6 the next day. Sometimes 6 times a day, 44 rockets, mortars all day long. Just didn't know when it was coming. I ran the security for their camp. Then I ran Falcon. Then they sent me back to Rustamaya. Then Shield. Then Al-Assad. But I got hurt. I got fixed. I went back to Afghanistan for another 2 years. They don't tell me what I know about military. I've seen war. I studied Homeland Security. Got a level 4 in Homeland Security. Studied intelligence up to level 3. Private investigation. 65 FEMA exams. Did all of that. And I lived in the townships. I know what the township's all about. I've seen the squalor. I've seen what was needed to be done. 25 years, that country's not done shit. But here's the truth. You want the truth? In 1994, during the big negotiations between the ANC, the Nationalist Party, and the international communities. This was during the period of Gorbachev, Reagan, that era. The USSR had collapsed. There was no more communist support. The Cubans that we fought in Angola, they were gone. They had no more support from the USSR because Russia was collapsing. They were financially broke. So the communist regime of Russia had fallen apart. There was no more support. There was no more, okay, we're going to push this communist agenda, this socialism, because they didn't have the support. The US knew, so did Britain, and mainly the businessmen. So what did they do? They cornered the hierarchy of the ANC, people like Ramaphosa, people like Mbeki, all those guys, Mandela and them, and they sat them in rooms until they had secret meetings. And they basically told them, you either use the system of capitalism or we will collapse your economy. And that's exactly what happened. Because instead of collapsing the economy, they tried to put investments in, but corruption took place. Because now you had a terrorist organization running a country that had no morals. They had no leadership qualities to run a country. They ran all the whites out that knew how to run the country, ran all their own people in. The racism was so great. Mindset was just get rid of these people because we don't want you, we all hate you. Corruption set in. I'm in power, so I have more rights to do whatever I like. So you can see my videos. There's 5 videos showing you trillions and trillions, literal case after case after case after case of the government stealing trillions and trillions of rands from the people because they think there's an endless supply of money. Soweto, they promised Soweto, don't worry, we won't charge you because you fought the fight during the apartheid regime and all this stuff. The problem is nothing is for free. Now Eskom's collapsing because nobody's paying the bill. They got rid of all the engineers because they were the wrong color. They got engineers there that didn't want to do their job. Power stations collapsed. They hired the Guptas. The Guptas, a bunch of criminals, Indian guys who didn't give a damn. All they were doing was trying to make money. So got paid billions for coal that never arrived. The government then borrowed money from China. China is now going to take it over, as they're doing throughout Africa, and screwing up all the people of Africa because corrupt politicians. Professor Labumba said, Labumba, I think his name is, from Kenya, said, corruption is a human rights violation. Because when you take from your people, you violate their rights to have a school. You violate their rights to have a road. You violate their rights to have a clinic. You violate their rights to a decent libertarian life where they're free from persecution, from corruption, from crime. Health is there. Schools are there. Education is there. Where is it? It's in their pocket. They scream colonialism, colonialism. It's the suppressors. We heard it today from Milan. Oh, brothers of Africa, we want to apologize for the nepotism. And the Johannesburg mayor came out and said, I'm not apologizing for the nepotism. Because you're classing one race in this nepotism, and that's black people. And yet in South Africa, there's Russians, Polish, Portuguese, Italians, English, Americans, Pakistanis, Iraqis, you name it, they're there. Everybody's there. All different kinds of nations. Today, Malema didn't apologize to the royals for saying, don't kill black people, kill white people. And then in his video, he adds a little small snippet of the royals going into a room so they can just add to their little publicity stunt. No, Malema, you're just a criminal. You're just a criminal opportunist from the past. And we don't need you anymore. We don't need your kind. You're just another Robert Mugabe who let his people starve. They eat rats now. They took all the farms. It produced the most food in Africa. And within a few years, the people are starving. And when they complained, he went and murdered them. Murdered his own people. There was a reason why he lived 10 miles inside. There was a 10-mile radius around his house. So nobody could mortar his house. Nobody could shoot a rocket at him. That's why. What does that tell you? Today, the banks are on strike. Most of the ATMs are already empty. People are panicking. The Rand dollar exchange is over 15. 15 Rand to $1. Back in 1962, it was $2 to 1 Rand. What does that tell you? And that was during apartheid. You know, in the 3 days that the royals have been there, 174 people were murdered. Another farmer was killed. Another farmer was tortured. And today at 5 o'clock in the morning, there was a strike where they shut the whole of the Cape down from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. because the people are sick of being denied rights. We watched as the royals walked down the street, and being a security person, you can tell where they are, walking the diamond on them. And then you can see the outer layer. So they got 2 sets of layers of security walking around them. You can see them watching the buildings to see if anybody would shoot them. You got the people close to them. They're walking a diamond. And it's 2 layers of diamonds. People in the security business know what I'm talking about. Meghan Markle's running to the cameras all the time. Oh boy, he's just scared. He's just like, what the hell? She's taking charge of that whole thing. He's just on for the ride because he can't control what's going on. They go to Desmond Tutu. She's sitting there all fixing the baby's face and stuff, while Desmond Tutu's giggling like a little girl, not talking about the real issues in South Africa. And they're going to go home and say, oh, there was nothing wrong in South Africa. Nothing happened there. It's a beautiful country. There's no crime. Don't worry. Just go down there. Guess what? Guarantee you 3 things. Rape, robbery, and murder. Rape, robbery, and murder. Out of 50 million people, at least 1 out of 5 will be murdered. raped, robbed, tortured, and the world's silent. You've been silent since 1994, 25 years. In the 1990s, we voted to remove apartheid from South Africa. I was one of them. We released Mandela from jail. If you look at his transcripts, he was the orchestrator of bombs in train stations. He killed women and children that were black and white. But we forgave him. We let him become the president. They made the Rainbow Nation. But there's a document called Boiling the Frog from 1993, which illustrates the slow demise of white people in South Africa. Right down to the fact that today, and it's in the document, they're taking the pensions from everybody. This is a legitimate document signed by the ANC. It was part of the 1993 agreement that they had made to destroy every white family, business, everything. It is the only country in the world that has affirmative action laws that only affect minorities and white minorities. In a country that is a majority black, it should be in a society where we all agreed in 1990 to remove any form of racism. You cannot have double standards. It's the same in America. You can't have the black awards. Imagine me having the white awards. It just doesn't even make sense to me. It must be insulting for black people to think that you have to have a quota to be recognized as a person. One must do this on the abilities of themselves. In the last 2 weeks, I met some incredible people. A princess from the Khoisan, extremely intelligent. On her own merits, they've done amazing things. A prince of the Zulus, intelligent man, on his own merits, schooled, trained, been all over the place, learned to do things. They didn't ask for a favor because of the color of their skin. Professor Labamba, probably most intelligent man I've ever seen in my life. Incredible, incredible man. And he's black. He didn't ask for no favors. He went to school. In South Africa now, they have lowered the education level to pass to 25%. 25%. That's like putting your name on the top of the paper and putting the date. And saying, thank you very much for the day. And you get 25% for neatness. That's why you're collapsing. And the royals are there to do what? Why are you there? Photo op? Try and fix your image? I don't get it. There's a report now that Meghan Markle is putting brown stuff on her face to make herself look darker. But if you look at her legs, they're white. Why is she doing that? Who cares? What are you trying to say? Suddenly you're a person of color? Who cares? I never looked at a man or a woman because of their color. I looked at their moral fiber of who they are, what your character is. What have you got to offer this world? Every day you lose faith in humanity, and then something so small, something breaks that for you. When you're about to give up, somebody will call you and say, hey, this guy, I heard of this black kid on a bicycle one day. He saw a little white girl get kidnapped. He chased that car for miles. He got them the number and he called the police and they found them and they saved that kid. Now, you see, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So, I want you to do me a favor, everybody that's down in the cave. When you see them on the street, hold up the sign and it says, just call me Hawk. YouTube. And don't say nothing. Do not say a damn thing. Just hold the sign up. And then another sign. It says USAC. And I'll write it. I started an organization called the United South African Coalition. It stands for United South African Coalition. Coalition meaning we need to get together. We can't do this alone. And not one person born in South Africa from the 16th century to the 14th century is not an African. You see, Africa is not a color. It's a continent. It's a piece of ground. I came to America. I became a US citizen. Guess what I became? African American. And they said, no, you can't be an African American. I said, why not? They said, you're white. I said, I didn't know Africa was a color. Approximately 50% of Africa is Arab. 40% of it is black. And the rest is a mix of Asians and whites. And the rest of the mix. It is illogical to say that the entire continent of Africa is black. It is not. It consists of 1 million languages, of 1 million cultures. Some people have never seen. It is arrogant to think you are the only kind. Because you see, humans are the only race on earth. My organization is called the United South African Coalition. You can find us on Facebook. We have another one called www.USAC Center. It's just to help people find jobs, get the news. I appreciate all the subscribers. We're up past 11K. Never expected this. All I wanted to do was get this message out to the world. 2.5 years ago, I started a video, just a little video, and I said, I'm going to bring the world. And I'm going to bring the world because of irresponsible behaviors of government. You see, a year ago, more than a year ago, they came out with land reform. Land reform. That the royal, not the royal, but the UK government, this chicken leg, Theresa May, came to South Africa and gave the government there 50,000 taxpayers' money, pounds money from the taxpayers of England to steal land. Take land, compensation. Take the land without compensation. Land that's been in people's for people's land for hundreds of years. Just take it. No, don't pay them. And the British government gave them the money, £50 million of your money. Now they're squabbling about Brexit. Well, you know why they don't want to get out, right? Because there's some kind of deal going on under the table with the rest of them. That's why they don't want to get out. It's like what's going on in our government here in the United States. Constant impeach Donald Trump, when everybody knows that it was the Democrats all along who were selling uranium to the Ukrainians. Now they're freaking out because he's talking to the Ukrainians, trying to find out how they sold it to them. Guess what? Hillary Clinton again. Wasting our time and our taxpayer money over nothing, nonsense. And yet the royals are down there having tea. And our people are dying. 174 in 3 days. Let me explain to you. It's 56 to 58 murders a day. That means in the last 3 days, 174 people were murdered in South Africa. In one day, 480 women, girls, grandmothers were raped. You times that by 3. That's almost 1,500 women were raped in 3 days while they were in South Africa, and they never said a damn word. And these are statistics coming from the UN, not from Craig Montgomery the Hawk. And you got people like Malema and Andile Masatama and Ace Mashula and the rest of these parasites that are racists, who are more worried about the vote. And I call it the prostitute vote. Because why? They sell their own countrymen for a vote to get into power, to do nothing. 25 years. The people are still living in squalor in the townships. Still don't have proper electricity, proper water. Still living in a 2-room place with no toilets. They wasted 25 years of South Africa's time. And you know why? Who owns South Africa? Not the government. Anglo-American, De Beers, all these people. They tell them, you do what we tell you or we'll destroy your economy. So what happens? Corruption. The wrong people are in power because nepotism takes in, and then it's hiring my brother and my cousin. Crime falls out the window. That the chief of police has his own house broken into the other day. How embarrassing is that? And the royals are running around town drinking tea with Desmond Tutu, who has not said one word since 2006 about the crime, the rape, the murder. Now the dukes run off to Botswana to go plant trees in awareness, ecological. It's an embarrassment. It's like it is insane. The country's bleeding, literally bleeding blood everywhere, and they don't say anything. Farmers are being murdered, one a week. And they're not just murdered, they're tortured for hours and hours and hours with hot irons. Cut their eyelids off, rape them. 80-year-old woman. Wrap towels around their heads and boil them. They even boiled a 15-year-old boy in the bath. They drowned him in hot water. Can you imagine? Who does these things? And the moderate blacks in South Africa can't say anything because they're tired. They cannot say anything. because if they do, they get killed. They too are vulnerable because if they get a nice house and a nice car and nice stuff, somebody robs them or kills them. If you say anything against the government, somebody comes to your house. It's a fact that the phones are trapped. They were caught the other day. Now the cell towers are gone. The Johannesburg General Hospital doesn't have medical supplies. The main hospital for Johannesburg doesn't have medical supplies. But the royals didn't see that. They don't know about that part. They're only going to Cape Town. You know, they went to Johannesburg briefly, I believe. So are they going to see South Africa, or are they just there for what? What are you doing in South Africa? Are you there to promote the Rainbow Nation, or is it just a one-sided thing? To leave so you can con the world again. There's nothing going on in South Africa. Absolute bullshit. The country's bleeding all over. Black, white, pink, and yellow, all suffering under the crime, corruption. Corruption is a human rights violation. And the persecution of whites. Over 70,000 of them have been murdered since 1994, and that is an absolute utter fact. Half a million people total murdered, 1 million women raped, and I'm not going to shut up until I'm done. And those of you who don't like me, I don't give a damn. I know who I am. But there's 50 million people in peril right now. Within a year, country will collapse with no money. That's a fact. China will take over most of the infrastructure because these corrupt politicians just sold the country, sold the minerals to whoever was the highest bidder. And there's some other very serious stuff we're looking into. Stuff that once we find out, we will expose. And every country in the world will be on its toes when they find out what we know. We will expose this later. Believe me, I'm digging. This is the Hawk. If you like my videos, please subscribe. Hit the bell for the next one. Please share. Hit the like button. To be honest with you, I hate doing these videos. I absolutely hate them. I didn't ask for this job. But I didn't see one person out there trying to get this out. Every news network out there like CNN are lying through their ass. They're telling lies. They don't tell the truth. So the next time you see the royals, hold up the sign. Just call me Hawk. YouTube. Make them listen. Make them listen. Please stop killing. Stop raping your sisters, your mothers, and your grandmothers. Stop killing. All you're doing is killing your souls. And those people out there that don't want this to happen anymore, you know who these people are. If the police won't do it, you do it. You stop them. It takes a few brave men and women to stop what's going on. And we need to stop this. And to everybody in the world that's listening right now, please share these videos. Let the world know what's going on. Let the world know. I have 5 videos on the corruption in South Africa that goes for trillions and trillions. If you think I'm lying, go look. This is government people. Do not give these people money anymore. They are not doing their jobs. They're stealing from the people. The money they stole could have bought every single family in South Africa a new house for free. And a nice one. And now there's no money. People are killing each other. This is the Hawk. I'm out of here. Please share this video. And thanks again for all the subscriptions. Because now the message is getting out. And that's what we need. Is get this message out. I don't care. Get past these people. Get past the media. Get past them. That's what's blocking the message, is the media. They're not telling the truth. You don't believe me? Take a random number and start calling around South Africa. You'll see. I'm out of here. Good night, everybody. And please stop killing, stop raping.